Yeah. W4G is it?
Okay, hello radio. This is N4LQ calling CQ, the Old Friends Net, which meets here every night at 8 p.m. on 1864 using amplitude modulation only. Anybody, everybody is welcome to check in. If you would like to do so, call now.
W4GZ.
Well, isn't that something? A big pileup. W4GUZ. Well, I guess you've been busy out at the antenna farm today, right?
Yeah, it didn't take too long. We were finished about, I don't know, we got home about 11 o'clock. If it hadn't been for the wife and all of her muster, I probably wouldn't have got the old antenna down. I'm curious to see how it performs on 160. And it may be just that it's oriented just slightly different, but I've got two close by AM broadcast stations, and 1470 always floated around between 43 and 42, or minus 42, 43 dBm, and then now it's down around 48, but the other one, which is further away, which was a lower signal strength, is now higher than the other one, so we'll see. But it was a rat's nest. I'll send you some pictures. Let's see if anybody else is in there. I'll send you what was left of what I took down after it came down. N4LQ, W4GZ.
You were minus 49 dBm on your meter there on the Kiwi receiver, and I see. Let's see what I am here. Minus 70, 66. Changes a lot. Huh. Yeah, not super strong, but when the sun goes down, it'll probably get better. Well, it's interesting why one station would be stronger and the other one weaker. I don't know. That fan dipole, did it have a 160 meter leg on it?
No, 20, 40, 60. I'm sorry. 80. Man, I've got too much going on in my head. I just got off the phone. 80, 40, and 20. And one half of the 20 meter leg was down a long time ago, and I didn't bother with it. It was vertical. And I'm not sure what the length on this my antenna in-fed was. It's the first antenna I bought, and it did not like the Collins, and I took it apart just to make sure I hadn't burned anything up. But it's just been sitting here taking up space. But I left the same. Obviously, the leaves are out, and no easy way to shoot another rope through the tree. So this leg is definitely longer than what was up there. So I used the same paracord and ended up pulling the insulator around the tree. So basically what I've got is guesstimating about 220 feet. That is horizontal up about 60, around 60 feet. And then probably guessing again 30 or 40 feet. That is pretty much vertical. So I guess it's an inverted L with a short leg on the vertical side. I checked 5 meg, 10, 20 today around 10 o'clock, and I was receiving them well, but I haven't checked the higher bands. So we'll see, but I've got it now to where I can take it down, and I may experiment this summer. I don't think I'm going to put a fan dipole up. It's just too much weight and too many limbs where I'm at, and I'm not a tree climber, so I can't. If I was a tree climber, I could cut a lot of that out and make it better, but this went pretty smooth this morning. I definitely thank my wife for helping me though. She left her leather gloves on and was pulling harder than I wanted her to, and then I was pulling on the LMR 400, which I had it looped and tied, so I wasn't pulling on the connector, but I'll send you some pictures of what I took down and what I put up and the way I put it up. I think it'll survive. And I think I mentioned this last night, but I've got I'm guesstimating 60 to 70 feet of LMR 400 from the tree up to the top, and the transformer is at the top of the tree. And then roughly 300 feet of 7/8 heliax buried about 2 feet back down to the SDR. So helps the noise floor, but I don't know. Maybe I should put a preamp on it. I don't know. The fan dipole made it right at 4 years, so I can't complain. N4LQ W4GUZ.
Now, if I'd been doing it, I would have put the transformer down at the ground and grounded it real good with a ground rod to keep the lightning on it, because it's a DC short from the antenna wire to ground, and that would have been pretty good for the receiver, since you're not able to get out there and unhook it and stuff, and that would protect it to a pretty good degree. Run it up and then over. So you did it the other way, but also the coax tends to pick up junk too. So if it's laying on the ground and hooked to the transformer, it wouldn't do that. But that's water under the bridge. Let's see if anybody else wants to check in. N4LQ.
WB4NKL.
Hello, Cliff. WB4NKL. N4LQ. Well, anybody else? Yep. Probably KZ4 will be along before too long. In the meantime, Cliff, talked to you a couple of times today, I think, and Larry two or three times, and Norm. So Been a busy day. I finally got my walk in. I got rained out. I got involved in a CW QSO, yakking away, and I kept seeing it getting darker outside, and I thought, nothing to worry about. Weatherman says it's only a 15% chance of nothing. And first thing I know, it was raining. And I mean, we got almost 2 inches of rain, and we weren't supposed to get any. And so tomorrow we're supposed to get another inch and a half or something. So there you go. Surprise, surprise. WB4NKL. Go ahead, N4LQ.
Now N4LQ, WB4NKL. Good deal, Steve. Got your walk in. I guess about 10 o'clock I left out and went up and got a walk in and took the garbage off to the dump. And been working on a AF67. I've got one I'd used before, but I didn't change capacitors, so I got back into it. Putting some new capacitors in it. Might try to get that on 160 here one night, but rig up some kind of amp to go with it. Still running the Globe King here now. Good deal on all the work on the antenna, Brandon. Sounds like you got it up and working. Was that a 160 meter? When you bought it, was it a 160 meter, or did you just add the 160 meter element? I just wonder what the transformer, which was it designed for, if there's much difference. Let's see, I got a message from Steve and Brandon, both. 3 hours ago on Steve's. I'm slow checking my phone. Go ahead, Steve. N4LQ, WB4NKL.
I just happened to think that antenna is only made for up to 40 meters anyway, so you'll pick up stuff just fine on the higher bands, but it wouldn't be too good for transmitting because the impedance match isn't good. Okay, well, there's probably a way around that, but there you go. And okay on the 67, new caps and all that good stuff. Should sound good. I ordered a roll of paracord today. You mentioned paracord, Brandon, and I found some on eBay that's rated for 1,000 pounds, which is the highest rating I could find. Who knows if it's true or not? And I got 200 foot roll, which is what I need for a 100-foot tree. It's got to go up and down. $19.99. 1 day delivery. That stuff is little. It's only 4 millimeters, which is like 5/32 of an inch, and it's supposed to handle 1,000 pounds. Beats me, man. I don't know. It's got 12 strands of some nylon or something in it. Anybody else want to check in? Where's Jim lately? Haven't heard him too much here. Go ahead. W4GUZ, N4LQ.
N4LQ. Hello, Cliff. W4GUZ here. I don't know what the composition of the core is on this end-fed. I think last night I misspoke and said 80 through 6, but it's 80 through 10, no tune. So it seems to do pretty good what I listened to going down the road. I went down to Morganton this afternoon. Folks were just sitting up for the big steam and hit and miss tractor and hit and miss and steam tractor show tomorrow, but I think it's going to be a flop, so I decided to make the 45-mile journey down to Morganton and I had a good time, learned a lot about bowler certification, and got to see a couple cool things. And Cliff, I think I sent you the video. That steam turbine dynamotor puts out 36 volts at 3,000 RPM at 30 amps. And he had a big locomotive headlamp or headlight there on the side. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's off to the left of that video. I'll send it to you too, Steve. But he burnt 2 bulbs out of it and had to quit. And man, it was putting out the heat. But that was something to see. No steam traction engines there besides a little 1/2 scale case that's been around for quite some time. I asked the guy that owned it about, who's also he certifies boilers, so we had a talk today about the boat and the other boiler that you've seen. But hopefully I can get the other boiler certified, believe it or not. But we had a good time. Talked to a bunch of old timers, and come back with a brand new shirt, the last one that my wife bought me for my birthday, April the 5th, covered in cinders and soot, so she wasn't too happy about that. And while I was down there, Janie called me, Terry's ex, and he said that, well, she asked me if I knew that he was home, and I said that I'd spoke to you, Cliff. But he said that his outlook on life is going up and down as the clock ticks. He encouraged each and every ham that he's friends with to keep his phone hot. And any day you want to go over there, Cliff, I'll come and help you. I think I don't know if it was you or Billy. I think it was Billy said that he had coax already ran upstairs. And even if he listens, I think that would brighten his spirits. So whatever day you want to tackle that, you just give me a call, and we can meet over there and move one of his stations upstairs where he can get back on the air. But it's a miracle. And his ex-wife's husband took him to a doctor's appointment today, and things are looking up, so God is good. I never, you know more as much as I do, Cliff, but it's a miracle that he's made the recovery that he has. He's got a lot of expenses ahead of him, which I don't think he'll have to worry about. But whenever you get in the mood to want to go over there, I'll come help you, and we'll move one of his stations upstairs so he can get back on the air. I'm surprised how quiet it is on 169. It's a lot noisier on 80 meters, that's for sure. And again, I thank the Lord that He placed me in the spot in the world where tornadoes are not so active. I've watched a couple of videos this afternoon, and man, Nebraska and Oklahoma is getting pounded. So let's see. I need to start taking notes. Down to you, Cliff, WB4NKL, W4GUZ on the Globe King.
Okay, Brandon, it's WB4NKL. Well, on Terry, I'm sort of tied up here for a little bit. Monday I've got a doctor's appointment, and then leaving Wednesday, but probably be around somewhere Monday evening and Tuesday of this coming week, and about the same deal for the next week. I've got a car appointment on the Monday of the next week, and Tuesday sort of free, and then leaving for Dayton on Wednesday. So not a lot of time, but after that, after get back from Dayton, should be some clear sailing for me for a while. Globe King sounding good. Two of them on here tonight. Like I say, I was wanting to try to get a 67 running, but Globe King's been pretty reliable. I better not say much. It's made some noises every once in a while, but nothing for the last 2 or 3 days. Sort of scares you when you hear an arc, but it didn't blow no fuses and didn't quit. So I don't know what's going on there. Just have to catch it doing it sometime. I watched your video while you were talking. Looks like a fun train show. I wonder what's involved. I guess the guy told you how he inspects a boiler. They're just looking for rust, or they actually pressure test something, or I wonder what's involved there. And 36-volt generator. I guess if that came off of rail service, I guess that was off of a passenger car or a business car. They used 36 volts on all the passenger cars and business cars, and 12 volts on the cabooses, and then 72 volts on the engine. So they had a wide variety. We had to put a 12-volt Motrac on a business car back years ago, and I think what we ended up doing was we had a 36-volt to 120-volt AC generator motor set, 36 DC to 120, and then we took a 120-volt power supply back down to 12 volts to run the Motrac off of. That's back before you could custom order power converters. Now I think they make switchers that you could run 32 volts right down to 12 if you wanted to. So back to you, Steve. N4LQ WB4NKL.
Okay. Strange bunch of people trying to watch that steam thing. Okay. N4LQ steam. Steam's a good thing, indeed, especially if you need to remove wallpaper. It's good for that. Good for a lot of things. And I know for a while they kept talking about trying to revive it for a car engine, but I think the trouble was it takes too long to get it heated up, so it'll turn to steam. Do we have any more check-ins?
KZ4 Bravo.
Speaking of steam, KZ4B. Hey, John, go ahead and make one and save me from this. N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group KZ4B. It's not steam, Steve. It's hot air. We've got plenty of hot air. We don't have that much energy to actually do what steam can do, but it's impressive stuff. That is for sure. And the Stanley Steamer was a hot rod. I mean, it was one of the hottest cars out there, but like you say, it took too long to heat one up. It's like electric cars. It's fast as hell and a real aggravation to operate. So there we are. Handles John. QTH is the east side of Lake Norman. We're operating with a Linco SR9T solid state transceiver. Take that, Steve. And it's driving a Tentec Titan 1 with a pair of 3CX 800 A7s, and that in turn is feeding via a Palstar AT4K tuner a off-center fed Wyndham resonant on 160 meters. So how's that for a mouthful? And the handle is John. So, I don't know who it goes to, Steve, so I'm going to pass it back to you to straighten things out. N4LQ in the group, KZ4B, over.
My John's got a handle too. Well, you left out everything but the ground rod, I think. Let's see. I'm trying to put together this presentation, trying to find pictures of things. I got the coherer detector. It's one of the early ones. Boy, that was a crazy thing, wasn't it? A coherer detector. Two metal cylinders separated by a gap with some iron filings in there, and you hit the little signal hits it, the filings kind of move together and start conducting, and it provides a circuit for a bell and rings a bell. That must be a signal. Ding! And then, of course, you had to whack the thing to uncohere it. They used a decoherer, and that stopped the bell from ringing. That would be annoying. And that was one element of code right there. That could be an E, depending on how long you let it ring. I don't know how they knew how long to let it ring. That's what I'm wondering. It's crazy. I don't know, but things have definitely changed. I'm going to go from there through DSP in my presentation. So let's see, John, you will come after Cliff. So it's me, Brandon, and then Cliff, and then yourself, and then back to me. Unless somebody else checks in, and we will listen right now. Go ahead.
Okay, this is November 4 Alpha Kilo, so I'll come after John. So back to you, N4LQ, N4AK.
Okay, I hear you. N4AK. Hello, Glenn. N4LQ. A little bit not strong, but I'm hearing you anyway. And what are you running tonight, Glenn?
I'm on the TS2000 and the Cobra antenna, but I got the speech processor on, so hopefully I'm hitting the audio a little harder. Over.
Yeah, nice and crisp and cutting right through the mustard, man. All right, we'll go ahead and round again then. W4GUZ, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ, W4GUZ, and hello John, and hello Glenn. Hearing you fine here in outside skirts of Bakersville, North Carolina. Quick test. I ain't gonna take too much time, but I've got two D104s here, and I haven't tried it on this Globe King. I'm making marks on the back of it. I've got a big piece of masking tape on the back. A very quick test. This is number one. And this is number two, W4GUZ on number two. And I'll go back to number one, which is what I've been on for eternity. This is number one, so Steve, you got the subwoofer. Anyway, again, good evening, John and Glenn. John, yeah, the Stanley steamer, they tried well after the internal combustion engine worked, and was actually they made a pretty good profit. I think up until the late 1920s, maybe into the 30s. But the big downfall was you had to wait 30 minutes to an hour to get steam up. And anybody that's interested in this, Jay Leno, you can YouTube him, but Jay Leno's Garage, he's got 4 or 5, and actually a prototype. See, it's a Whit or a Whitley, whatever the the competitor against Stanley Steamer, but he's got quite a collection outside of internal combustion engines. He's got several pieces out of Henry Ford's museum, and one steam engine that he's almost certain that Thomas Edison used when he was doing his experiments. And I had the privilege of meeting Jay Leno in 2002. We were actually in line on our honeymoon to get into his show, and the line was very long, like you were at Carowinds, and we were sitting there talking, and guy walked by with a clipboard, and I remember him passing by, and then he popped up in front of our faces, and he asked the wife, he said, "Where are you from?" And my wife in her southern drawl said, "Bakersville, North Carolina." And he said, "Jay will love your voice. Come with me." And we got to go in the front door and got a front seat pass, and she got a little skit that it was all scripted, but she memorized it, and we were on the Jay Leno show, and then got to talk to him a little bit afterwards, and watched him drive away in his 65 or 66 Mustang. But he's a good guy. He's a big steam guy, but can make a lot of power with steam. Jay ended up he got an ambulance ride into the hospital 4 or 5 years ago with a pretty good burn to his face. He was trying to light one of his Stanley steamers and had a little bit of a gas leak and scorched his face, but he recovered from that. But some good stuff there if you're interested in that. Just search Jay Leno's Garage and put in Stanley Steamer. And I think it's either Whit or White, but they made a 4-door sedan steamer that was one of the quickest, a lot quicker than anything that Henry Ford come up with or had come up with at the time. But he's quite a character and a very down-to-earth guy, even though he's worth millions. And Steve, on the infed, I did not, I did open the box up, and of course the ground connection is grounded to the shield of the coax, and right at the base of the tree where it goes into the heliax, it's grounded there, and if I'm not mistaken, I've got 4 ground rods tied to the shield of the heliax as it goes down the hill into the house, and then I've got some more protection in front of the SDR. So far, so good. Last year we didn't have that many storms around here, but we'll see what this year holds. And Cliff, I guess after you get back from Xenia, we'll try to plan that. Right now my schedule's pretty set in stone. I've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So surely we can work something out. In that video I sent you, Steve, and Cliff, that other contraption back there behind that turbine that was making all the racket was off of the 611, her sister, but it was the twin-cylinder auger steam engine that shoveled coal into her rear end. So this was its maiden voyage, and I tell you, that thing was just as quiet as it could be. You could not hear a single tick or peck inside that motor when it was running. I hate I didn't get a video of it. But I wish Rick, WK4R, would get in here. I'll have to bring this up tomorrow, but that excursion he took, if you remember, Cliff and Steve, there was a little bit of a delay. They had a problem with the engine, and it was a stay bolt that had broke in the boiler. And the young blonde-headed guy that's in that video was actually the one that climbed up in it. Turnaround time was less than 36 hours. So they put the fire out. He climbed in it with, I guess, turnout gear, no mech suit or whatever. And him, along with about 4 other folks, replaced the stay bolt on top of the crown sheet of that engine while it was still warm, and successfully done it. And the engine was back in action, and I think only maybe 2 excursions were postponed, but I think they were made up at the end. So I had a real good time this afternoon. I'm glad I took the time to take the 45-mile drive down there and back. WB4NKL, W4GUZ.
W4GUZ, WB4NKL. Good deal, Brandon. Hello to John down there on the lake. This is Cliff up here on the creek, John. And hello to Glenn. Glenn, you're a little lighter than the other guys, but I'm copying you all right. You're making it through the little bit of QRN I've got. And good deal on Jay Leno. Brandon, I've watched some of his videos. He's got a lot of vehicles, and I don't think I've actually seen the Stanley Steamer videos, but I have seen some of his other vehicles that he's restored or had restored. I guess he does some of it himself, maybe. A lot of interesting stuff. I guess you know, if we had Jay Leno's money and ham radio hobby would, I don't know what would happen. I don't know where I'd put all these radios. So I guess that's a good thing I don't have Jay Leno's money, I guess. Send it on around. Not much to report here. Still working on a 67 over here, so I've been soldering and listening. Go ahead, John. KZ4B, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group. This is KZ4B. Fine business all around. Brandon, I got a question for you. Sounds like you know a lot about steam engines. Was the Franklin steam-powered? I was kind of thinking it was, but I'm not sure. So that's the question of the night. Was the Franklin a steam-powered car? And speaking of steam, I have quite a few model steam engines. I power them mostly with air from my air compressor, because it's a whole lot easier than heating up water. But I love steam engines, and I have mentioned this on the air before, but anybody who loves steam engines needs to go to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. Henry collected large industrial-sized steam engines, and he has a display at his museum of the evolution of the steam engine from the Newcomen lot in the beginning that was used to pump water out of mines, and its progression up until his time, and had just about every different kind of major development in steam technology. Very interesting deal, and all of them, while they're typically not being powered, are capable of being powered, because he's got them all hooked up to boilers that if you heat the boiler up, you can run your steam engine. And but a lot of horsepower there, to say the very least, and very interesting subject. And so on that note, I will pass it on over to Glenn. N4AK in the group, KZ4B, over. Take it away, Glenn.
John, KZ4B in the group, November 4 Alpha Kilo. And I looked that up, and Franklin looked like he used a lot of aluminum in his engines, and they were all air-cooled. I was trying to look him up on Wikipedia. In 1932, he had the most powerful. He came out with a 12-cylinder engine, 100 horsepower. So looked like his earlier engines were conventional too. Brandon, when you mentioned the Ford Mustang, I got a story to tell you. Came out, I guess you call them, I think, I went down to the Ford dealer, and they had a beautiful one there, and I traded on the spot. Traded in my Chevrolet 1963. I'm sure the dealer made money on me. But I bought the Mustang, and I was due to go overseas to Germany. And I had to be in Brooklyn Army Yard the next week. So I drove my car up there, and believe it or not, I was able to get it authorized to put on the same ship with me. So they put it on the USS Maurice Rose, and it ended up being the first Mustang in Europe. I had a delay in getting it out of customs because there was a truck in Germany called a Mustang. But finally they let it through, but they had a provision that the other Mustangs that came into Germany could not come in that way. They had to put and Ford had to put T5, Tango 5 on the side. They could not have the word Mustang. So much for the Mustang in Europe. So moving right on back up to the top, Steve. N4LQ, N4AK.
Okay, N4AK, N4LQ. Do we have anybody else that would like to join us tonight? Come now. It's amazing how quiet it is tonight. In spite of all the static, it's not constant, so we're able to at least hear a few things. And I'm looking at Brandon's Kiwi, and for some reason it has quit showing any signal. I guess I need to reboot it or something, or refresh it, as it were. I will try that, see if that does anything. Off the audio. Yep, that did it, I think. It's a little better. I don't think Franklin had any steam engines. Matter of fact, I think the car, John Weiner has got one, K1 VVC. He's got some old cars, and I think he has one in his barn. He's got a great big barn, and he's got a few collectible cars in there, and I believe, is one of them. And it's an impressive beast for sure. And the steamer, though, it is a white steamer. I've studied those years ago when I was a kid, the white steamer and the Stanley steamer. They were big competitors, and I've watched Jay Leno's, I watched the video where he starts it up. It takes forever. You have to turn this and twist that and watch this gauge and flip this lever and wait so long before you do this. I mean, I don't know. It's like flying a 747. You got a checklist. You have to get it out and go down the list. On your D104s, I listened closely and I couldn't hear any difference at all. And there's no woof to sub in that thing. It's very narrow. It sounds nice, but there's no bass, so a subwoofer wouldn't matter. And you sounded exactly the same. If you hadn't told me you changed mics, I would never have noticed. So that's the report on that. And speaking of steam, I remember when I was a kid, we took a vacation down to Gatlinburg, and they had a car museum down there. I don't know if it was in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, but it was a pretty nice museum. I don't even know if it's still there or not. But they had a little steam car that won the world's speed record. It was over 100 miles, way over 100 miles an hour, fastest thing on Earth for a long time. It took a long time to beat that thing, and I think it killed the guys that raced it. But it was, the straight line speed test, and it was up there. I mean, I don't know how fast it was, 140 or something insane like that. And back then they didn't have tires or anything that could handle that kind of speed. So I think it kind of like went out of control, became airborne or something. So back around for another short one there. I say with tongue in cheek. W4GUZ, N4LQ.
N4LQ, W4GUZ. I guess that's the only one I know. It's been several years since I've been to Gatlinburg, but there's a muscle car museum that's between Sevierville and Gatlinburg. I guess it's closer to the old Tin Tech than it is Gatlinburg, but near Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And I have not been in it. The wife has, but I guess that's what you're talking about. A good deal on the D104. Thank you, Steve. On the Franklin, I have no knowledge at all on the Franklin company, other than the relation to all his engines and Volkswagen engines being air-cooled. I still think that's the way to go, but one less thing to worry about, leaking fluids. But it's been several years ago that I did start researching, looking at radial engines, aircraft engines, and Volkswagens, and Maytag hit and miss engines, and Franklin engines. So, but, if I'm not mistaken, he was rather He done pretty well with his company there for a couple of years, but that's all I can. I think we were all internal combustion. I don't remember seeing any steam-powered Franklin engines. Glenn, the first Mustang in Europe. I'm assuming that was yours, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, don't you wish you still had it? Maybe you do. I wish I had half the vehicles my parents had. It's not in my possession. It's in pieces right now, but I am lucky enough to have a 1933 Chevrolet Master Coupe that my great-grandfather, they had a raffle in downtown Spruce Pine. This would have been, I guess, maybe the fall of 33 or the spring of 35, who knows, or it could have been a couple years after that. Man, I wish I could remember everything my grandpa told me. I wanted and so many times to come in there with a tape recorder and just let him talk. I knew if he knew I was recording him, he wouldn't say anything. But I remember this like he was sitting beside me. But Spruce Pine Grocery, downtown Spruce Pine, they had a raffle, and Grandpa was just, let's see, 21, 33, 11, 12 years old. He was on his dad's shoulder, my great-grandfather's, and Lower Street was packed from one end all the way around the depot, people standing on anything they could find, and they called out the winning number, and my great-grandfather won it, and my grandpa said that he just about fell off his grandpa's shoulder. But they won that car, and of course that was the first car that family had. Everybody walked back and forth to school and to work in the small town. But my grandfather learned to drive in that car, and ironically, it's quite ironic, grandfather retired from Pepsi-Cola, and after 38 years, and my dad did later on in life. I think he put 35 years in. But, back then everything, Cliff, the area from here to Bakersville, it took about 45 minutes to get there, up and down and around the hill. But when great-grandpa was teaching grandpa to drive in that 33 Chevrolet, he had it in the wrong gear and backed into a Coke delivery truck. And that's the only dent that's on that body. Dad and I got that pulled back out, but my great uncle, who had possession of it up until he died. That's the only thing that Dad got out of that estate, but he went down monthly or every other month and started it and worked the mechanical brakes and all that. So he picked that up about the time I turned 16 or 17. I was in high school. And it had running boards, just like Volkswagen, metal covered with rubber. And that's the only thing that was rusted out. The rest of the body was fine, besides the big dent and the crack in the back window. And man, I wish I had it to do over again. But Dad immediately, when we got it, he started stripping it down and sandblasted it down to metal, keeping the lead filler. that they used back in the day, and the car still sits the way it did back around 1999, 2000. He's got it in primer. He did go through the engine, and the frame and all that's been painted and ready to go. Boy, I wish I'd seen what the future was like, and patina is the way to go, and all Dad would have to do is go through the brakes and the engine. Of course, back then you didn't buy replacement bearings. They were poured Babbitt bearings, and I know I was still in high school, so 17 or 18 years old, but that was my first experience in pouring Babbitt bearings, which is it's going to be soon a lost art. And they used asbestos material, kind of like Play-Doh, to make the form around the bearings before you poured the molten metal. And they called it, I guess this is appropriate, but they called it Babbitt. And I know why now, because later on in life, the first hit and miss engine that I bought needed the rod bearing re-poured, and we built up a form and done everything right, but we had one little leak in that Play-Doh asbestos putty, and when it leaked and went out on the floor, that's the first word both of us said. So the name was fitting. I'll hang in here for one more, and then I'm gonna find something to eat. Not really. We've got 0.9 inches of rain today. It come a flood while I was gone. Amy said there's gravel washing down the driveway. I made the solo trip down to Morganton, and it sprinkled on me a little bit. But all in all, good afternoon. Good day. Getting the antenna replaced. Getting to hang out with some steamers. WB4NKL, W4GUZ.
Yeah, W4GUZ, WB4NKL. Good deal on the old Chevy. I had a possession of a 39 for a while, drove it around here, and there was a lot of metal in that car. Seemed like I remember trying to put a broadcast radio antenna on it, and I was trying to punch a hole with a green leaf punch, and it broke the bolt out of the punch. So it took a while for those cars to deteriorate. I was going to comment on the D104. Like Steve said, I couldn't tell any difference at all here, Brandon. So you can mark that one the same as you marked the other one. Two good ones, sounds like. And yeah, we'll pursue Terry's station move there after Xenia. I'll give him some more time to recover. I don't think he'd probably feel like messing with it right now anyway. And we'll see how he is there. Yeah, it's less than 2 weeks. 15th, let's see, I'll be back that Monday or Sunday for Saturday night of that weekend. So anytime during that next weekend would probably be okay. And let's see, yeah, he's already, I remember years ago he had hadn't been too long ago, he had a Yazoo station up in his bedroom upstairs, so hopefully he's still got the coax run up there. It'll just be a matter of picking a station and moving it up there, and see which one he wants to move. I guess I'll go ahead and get out about 9 o'clock, so enjoyed it. I'll stick around and listen, but I probably won't transmit again unless somebody's got something to ask. 73s, and thanks for calling it, Steve. WK4R, WB4, WK4R, KZ4B. WB4NKL. Brandon mentioned Rick's call there a while ago and had it on my mind. Go ahead, John.
Okay, fine business, Cliff. WB4NKL and the group KZ4B, fine business. Good copy as usual. Speaking of heavy metal, when I was in college, I looked into the purchase of a 1952 Cadillac hearse that had the 330 cubic inch overhead valve Cadillac V8. It was the first year you could get a 4-barrel carburetor, and it had 3 on the column, straight drive. It was the old Cad LaSalle transmission, and it had a 456 rear end from the factory, because even though it was a hearse, it was owned by the Black Funeral Service in Raleigh, Capital Funeral, and they had to use it as a hearse as well, as an ambulance as well as a hearse, because the white funeral service would not carry black people. So they picked up that business, and since it was a hearse, they painted it a very dark metallic green, so it really wasn't black. And it had 2 stainless steel signs you could plug into the on top of the dash in front of the front windshield with a light on it. So one said ambulance and the other one said funeral coach. And I cut the ERAL off of funeral, so it said fun coach after I got it. But when I bought it, it still had flashing red lights where the bullets used to, the bullets in the grill of those old Cadillacs, they were actually red lights, and it had a siren, so that for when they used it as an ambulance. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of adventures in that thing. And 0 to 60, it was quick, but it was wound tight with that 456 rear end. It had 16-inch ambulance tires. It was wound tight at 80 miles an hour, and the mileage was absolutely atrocious. It cost a fortune to feed that thing, but it was a lot of fun. And it had leather rolled and pleated interior and red velvet in the back where the casket would go, or a gurney when they used it as an ambulance. And but speaking of heavy metal, it weighed over 6,000 pounds. And beautiful car. It was in mint condition, and be worth a fortune today. But I could not afford to keep it, and I wish I had it still. Let's see, I was gonna, Brandon, on your mics, like everybody else, I could tell no difference between the 2 mics. They seem to be identical. And talking about air-cooled engines versus water-cooled engines, the American Navy, the Japanese Navy, and the Germans really didn't have aircraft for the Navy, but the point is that the Navy used all radial air-cooled engines for the simple reason that you didn't want to go down into the drink, and much more reliable than the V12 liquid-cooled engines like in the P-51 Mustang. And of course the P-38, the Marines used them, but they had two engines, so you could shoot one out and still fly on the other. But the point is, when you want performance, you need a liquid-cooled engine. so you can run a higher compression. And I learned that the hard way. I had a Porsche powered Carmen Ghia, and it was air cooled, and it had 12-to-1 pistons in it. It was a race motor that I bought out of a junk race car, and I had to feed it champagne and retard the timing, so it got worse gas mileage almost than the hearse, and so that I could run it on the street with pump gas. When they raced it, they used nitromethane, and which of course you can't get at your local service station. But it was a very quick Carmen Ghia, and I don't know if you know it, but Porsche engines would bolt. The air-cooled Porsche engines would bolt right into a Volkswagen transaxle. The swap was the easiest engine swap there ever was, and had a lot of fun with it, but like I say, I couldn't afford it any more than the hearse. So, I have rambled on enough. Take it away, Glenn. N4AK in the group, KZ4B, over.
When we were talking about the Franklin, after the war, Preston Tucker bought the rights to the Franklin engine, and he had a transmission version that was water-cooled in the Tucker automobile. So, and then the Holy was rolled out later. That's interesting story there. And talking about cars,
All right, I couldn't copy any of that, Glenn. This N4LQ, I could just barely tell you were in there, but real good, everybody. I think I'm about done for the night, and if anybody wishes to continue on, they can, but I'm going to go ahead and close down here on this end and say my 73s and put I guess an end to the net. Anybody wishing to continue on, just go right ahead. But this, go ahead, Brandon. N4LQ, and I'll say 73, go ahead. W4GUZ, N4LQ.
Okay, Steve, thank you for doing what you do every night of the week. I try to be more regular now that my schedule's a little more regular. Glenn, I heard you. Heard just about every bit of that. John, with a Porsche paired Carmen Ghia, I wonder if it's if it was a 356 or a 911 stuffed in the back of it. I drag raced Volkswagens. I build a tube chassis with a 1957 oval shell over top of it. The front end, the doors, and the fenders, of course, was all fiberglass. But drag raced it for 7 years. Won the championship going back a decade. 2011. and in 2010, running Pro Modified. I run 570s in the 8th mile at 128 miles an hour, and I sold the car for just about what I had, not counting my time, and that car ended up being the number 2 of all time fastest rear engine powered, well, it wasn't a stock block, it was a aftermarket aluminum block, not a magnesium block, but a stock Volkswagen transmissions. But it's still holding the number 2 place from whenever they started tallying up the times. I guess around 1968 or 9 is when this organization started. Anyway, it's run 899 at 158 miles an hour in the quarter mile. I never ran it in the quarter mile. And if you look at a Volkswagen, it's made just about like a Volkswagen. An airplane wing with the hydrofoil at the top slopes and the bottom flat. So when you get up above a certain mile an hour, it wants to take flight. I'm glad I didn't experience that, and I'm glad it's still alive. It now resides somewhere in Texas. It's been in hibernation now for about 3 years. So who knows, but I learned a lot building that. I got around just shy of 400 horsepower and about 400 foot-pounds of torque. 2.1 liter Volkswagen engine with a little bit of help with the turbo, about 28 pounds of boost. Lots of fun, glad I didn't get killed. The wife also raced Volkswagen. She had a buggy that runs 690s in the 8th. And we had lots of fun with that. But life got in the way, and I seen it was time to get rid of it. There's only one way to become a millionaire drag racing, and that's to start with 2 million. So I got out at the right time. But I built the car, the frame, the motor, the headers, everything except the transmission. I left that up to the guy that knew what he was doing. And he actually he retired from DEI, Dale Earnhardt Enterprises. So, that seems like a long time ago, but I could hop in it today, and I think I can still drive it. And I've got a 1966 bus that's got a beefed up 2.2 liter naturally aspirated motor in it. But right on the bumper in front of the deck lid, I've got a big sticker that says, "I know a Porsche motor will bolt right in." So we'll have to continue this conversation a little bit later. I had a 1952 split window, sold it, and a bunch of other Volkswagens, and ended up with a car that I never thought I would own, but it come from one of us, K4JAL, just a couple miles as the crow flies, the next county over. He had it, bought it in California and had it shipped over, and it's been sitting in his garage. But I was lucky enough, after years and years of asking, he said, "Nope, not for sale," but he finally sold it. And I done a full brake job and rebuilt the carburetors, and I put around 100 miles on it so far within the last month. I've got a 1963 5.6B, not an A, but it's close enough for me. And it's amazing how many parts and pieces that I've took off on the mechanical side of the body that's got Volkswagen stamped in it. So Ferdinand Porsche's son He knew what he was doing. And I never thought anything would, I enjoy driving anything better than a Volkswagen Beetle, but Porsche's a different breed. 73 to all. Cliff got out. John, over to you, and I'll listen for you and Glenn. Then I'm going to turn this stuff off and go eat a bite and get in the bed. And looks like it's going to rain the rest of the weekend. KZ4B, enjoyed it. W4GUZ.
Okay, W4GUZ and the signed out group. This is KZ4B. Fine business, Brandon. You got some really impressive iron. Man, 570 at 120 miles an hour in the eighth is moving on. Tell me this, just a quick break. Were you running a gasser or was it fuel brake?
I was running oxygenated 116 octane fuel. And this was back around 2000, let's see, when did I sell the car? I don't know, around 2009 or 10. It was rather expensive, about closer to $9 a gallon. It was quite a ride. And I'm ashamed the first time I took it down the track before I even had it painted, I had all the body work done. I took it to Mooresville, just north of Charlotte. And I thought that I had the boost set around 10 pounds, but I put the wrong spring in the wastegate and had it set around 20 pounds. And about halfway through second gear, I lifted. It definitely sits you back in the seat. But no, it was no nitromethane, just 110 octane, just to keep the big thing with boost is pre-detonation. So I got lucky. Every round, basically the only thing I done, I had very few electronics in there. I did have an oxygen sensor, but after every run, I pulled a plug on each side and done the old magnifying glass test on the plug to make sure that I wasn't burning it up or wasn't running too much fuel. And if it looked a little rich, then I'd turn the wick up just a little bit. It was a lot of fun, and I don't miss it unless I start talking about it, if you know what I mean, but I'm getting too old for that. 73 KZ4B W4GZ.
Roger, well that's very impressive, very impressive. Well, the only other air-cooled thing I ever had, I built a dune buggy that had a 140 horsepower Corvair, the big valve motor, supercharged with the small valve 180 horsepower Corvair engine, and it was stupid fast and weighed about 1,200 pounds. A lot of fun. It could do bat turns at 35 miles an hour. Just about jerk your head off. If you didn't have a seatbelt on, it'd throw you out of the car. But anyway, 73's I think the bad weather conditions are moving in on us, and I'm starting to hear some lightning strikes. So you're definitely a gearhead, and nice to make your acquaintance. We'll have to talk more, because I have gasoline in my veins as well. 73's W4GUZ, KZ4B clear.